New camera angle. What's this? A whole pile of goodies, none of which are the Lamy pens they obviously resemble. I also got a few of these clear ones as well. Taking a look at the Amazon listing for the Safari looking ones. They are inkless eternal pencils, and the clear ones that look like a Lamy Vista are a brush tip pen. Let's take a closer look at one of these eternal pencils. While visually similar to a Lamy Safari, they don't have the Lamy logo on the side of the barrel, and half of these came in a glossy plastic finish, while the other half had a textured finish which was more like what comes on the Safari. Removing the cap shows off the magic of these pens. Rather than a fountain pen nib, these have the eternal pencil inserts. Removing the barrel will reveal an eraser. Rather than your usual cartridge you would find, the eraser feels nice and soft, like a quality eraser. Along with the fully assembled eternal pencils comes a bag of replacement inserts. Maybe eternal is sooner than you would think. The various titles of different listings would definitely make it seem as an unlimited writing source, but most I looked at do clarify some equivalence to an amount of regular pencils that these will convert to. Moving the rest of these out of the way, let's see how this writes. Overall, it feels pretty similar to a pencil on the page. This one's a bit of a gray, lighter than I would expect for a pencil, but plenty usable. Giving the eraser a try, it does a fairly good job of removing the marks from the page, not really taking any more effort than I would expect for a standard pencil. With fairly minimal writing, there is a flat spot forming on the tip of the nib of this eternal pencil. With other designs, you could just rotate this around and make it wear more evenly. So once these get to a state they aren't writing well, you do have a set of spares of each of the colors, and they just unscrew and are easy to swap in and out by screwing in a new one. Like you may have noticed with the bag of spares, this set, each pen corresponds with a different colored tip. To save time, I've got a writing sample of each of these lined up along with the matching pen. If you've ever used a cheap colored pencil, the colors feel pretty similar. Prismacolor these are not. Of these, I would say 3 are fairly usable for writing: the gray, purple, and the darker of the blues. The red is almost usable. Lighter blue less so. And the greens and yellows at the bottom are pretty hard to see in my opinion. Moving on to the Vista styled pen, this is another unique writing implement. Removing the cap, once again, will reveal this pen's secret: a pointed brush tip. Removing the barrel to reveal a converter, which you use to fill this up just like you would with a normal fountain pen. I've had this one inked up and laying on its side for a number of days, and honestly I expected to have some leaking issues, but have not run into that so far. Once soaked with ink, the brush tip is quite flexible and requires a very light touch to write a fine line, but the variation can be massive with no effort whatsoever. I can imagine this being a fun tool for those with a bit more skilled hand than mine. I, on the other hand, definitely still need to play around with it some more, but I've enjoyed it thus far. I filled this pen up with regular fountain pen ink. Specifically, this was a Diamine Purple Rain, which is a purple ink with a dull gold sheen. The brush pens are easy to fill and seem to perform quite nicely, and I can definitely see how this could be used for hand lettering or artistic uses, as the line variation and ability to lay down a large amount of ink in little effort could be very useful. The Eternal pencils are a bit more hit and miss. Depending on the color, they range from quite usable to mostly illegible in my opinion. I could definitely see people using these when taking notes or using them for calendar applications where you need to color code things, with the expectation that some of the colors may be a little too light for use. The colors are fairly light, and the variation between shade goes from almost non-existent to light rather than being able to get a fairly dark line. So for writing, I personally would go for the black or gray, and would only pick up the colored ones if you specifically needed the color coding potential. And if by chance you're interested in any of these, check the affiliate links in the description below,